Gas prices on the rise, helping fuel inflation in March. High inflation also weighing on the Biden administration as the 2024 race heats up. At an event Tuesday, White House senior advisor John Podesta saying the president will do what he can to keep prices down. Let's bring in GasBuddy head of petroleum analysis Patrick Haan, and Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman is here with us as well. Patrick, maybe just set the stage for us first. Gas prices, Patrick, where are we now? How much have we jumped up so far this year? And where do you think we're headed next, Patrick?
Yeah, we're up about 60 cents from our January low of 303. We're at 367, kind of teetering on that. We'll probably hit 370 here in the next couple of days as mid-Atlantic and northeastern states see the effects of the rollover to summer gasoline. So we're headed higher, but we saw a bit of a technical sell-off developing here later after the EIA numbers came out. They were pretty bearish, at least when it comes to gasoline demand, which is still relatively anemic. So, there's some light at the end of the tunnel here. I do think gas prices do continue going up for the next week or two, but I'm sensing we're getting close to the potential end of the spring rally.
Interesting here, but as we've talked about with you, Rick, many, many times, the direction of the gasoline price is closely tied to sentiment around the president, and not just President Biden, by the way. This happened with past presidents as well.
Yeah, gas prices. I mean, the typical household spends only about 3% of its budget on gasoline. I mean, this just has an way outsized effect on consumer psyches. I mean, if there's one price everybody sees every day that tells them, are things a bargain or are they too expensive as gasoline prices? I would actually ask Patrick, what is the danger level for President Biden, do you think, in terms of gas prices? It does seem that when we turn over from a number that starts with a 3 to a number that starts with a 4, that gets people's attention. Is it just those firm thresholds, or is it something else?
Yeah, it really is those key psychological barriers here. I mean, we're 6-8 months away from the election. If we saw the national average at $4, that's going to have a strong correlation to Biden's approval numbers, and I think they would tank. And so that's really the danger zone. Now, we don't see that. There's still the potential. Hurricane season is supposed to be very busy later this year. I think Colorado State gives a 40% chance of a hurricane hitting in somewhere on the Gulf Coast between Texas and Houston. So that's going to be a wild card. But absolutely, there is huge sensitivity. You couldn't have said it better that Americans, the gas prices, whether they need to fill their tank up or not, that's the sense of their feeling about the broader economy, whether it's inflationary or disinflationary. That gas price is really the polarizing number.
And I'm also interested, Patrick, you noted recently, if you want affordable gasoline, you said defragment the summer gasoline requirements. What does that mean, Patrick? Walk us through defragment.
Well, as you mentioned there just a little while ago, Podesta signaling that the Biden administration would love to bring down gasoline prices. I don't know how much more I have to shout from the rooftops. Is that the fragmentation is what really kills gas prices every spring. That is, these different areas across the country have different requirements, different entities regulating them, whether it's the California Air Resources Board, which supersedes the EPA. Arizona has its own blend. This map from 2004 shows 17 different types of summer gasoline in use across the country. Now, it's not that bad now, but it's still certainly an area that could use improvement. Stick with one blend, or maybe two, have that in use across the U.S. so that when a refinery goes down in the Gulf Coast or in Chicago, that gasoline can be shipped and purchased across these state lines. And that's, really what leads spring prices up every spring. I mean, the increase this year, absolutely predictable. And part of the big reason is the switch over from winter to summer gasoline.
So, Patrick, I follow you on Twitter, and I notice you're a big fan of the idea of drawing down the strategic reserve to get gas prices down.
Yeah, the temptation, 2022, right? That's kind of a slippery slope there. A lot of folks like to think that's political. Certainly, you could make a strong argument that a $50 a barrel jump in oil relatively quickly with the Russia invasion of Ukraine could merit. It's a strategic reserve, but what it's not is to be used for strategic price reduction. I know that's probably a temptation, but it proved its weight in gold, the strategic reserve after Russia. Trump wanted to get rid of half of it to pay down the debt. Biden obviously tapped it. It is strategic, and it's not just there to be used to reduce prices.
And Patrick, did you take that Podesta comment where he said President Biden wants to keep the prices low and will do what's necessary? Did you take that as him leaving the door open to tapping the SPR?
After I did a little bit more digging, some of the sources and a lot of the headlines are certainly, whether they're tilted or indirect. And I went through some of the comments Podesta made, and it did not seem to me that that was a direct statement, thank goodness, because I'm sick and tired of politicians alluding to the fact of using the SPR. But I think it just highlighted that the administration is watching gas prices. Hopefully they will not use it for simply price reduction, but it's a temptation that politicians have when they see a piggy bank with 364 million barrels of oil. It's going to be a temptation.
So Patrick, one thing a lot of people don't realize is that we are at record levels of oil production here in the United States domestically. And it's weird for President Biden. He can't really take credit for that because he, of course, is the guy who wants to get rid of the carbon economy. Is there anything Biden can do with regard to domestic production to bring a little bit more oil onto the market while we're heading into the 2024 election? Or does he just have to basically be hands off?
Yeah, I think how he paraded into the White House and went after the oil industry is certainly not, it's going to be doublespeak at this point. So the right is already angry that he tapped the SPR to utilize in the case of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. They're angry that he shut down the Keystone. They're angry that he made it more difficult to drill on federal land. And now if he swings the other way, he certainly risks the other side of his electorate. That is, the folks that put him in the White House certainly liked his environmental policies. So, he's kind of left himself in a corner here, and it's going to be hard to get out of. And there's not a whole lot that he could do to repair that damage when he paraded into the White House and immediately took those executive actions.
Patrick, good to see you. Thanks a lot. GasBuddy's Patrick DeHaan and our Rick Newman. Thanks to you both.